The Triad is a lively scene as springtime dances in, homeowners are ready to sell, and their built equity is a win. Great homes will be for sale with a new deal behind each door. The Sharp Mortgage Team is excited to help in the spring of 2024. With wisdom and commitment, we'll help you chart your move. A quick conversation and pre-approval will get you in the groove. With pre-approval secured, you'll be steps ahead, you'll see, ready to embrace the home buying journey with confidence and glee. From cozy cottages to sprawling estates, you'll find the perfect fit, and your real estate agent's skill set help and determined grit. With a wealth of knowledge and a heart for your buying success, we'll navigate the housing market, ensuring nothing less. Don't let the media fool you, you deserve a wonderful new nest. With the Sharp Mortgage Team, you're poised for nothing less than the best. Embrace the warmth of springtime, flowers, and skies of blue. Partner with the Sharp Mortgage Team. We're always here for you.
This is the Triad Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to another episode with our certified financial planner, Jennifer Johnson of 3 Magnolias Financial Advisors, right here in Winston-Salem. Jennifer, we typically talk about our topics ahead of time through emails or before we even start the recording sometimes. And when you sent me your idea for this month's podcast, my eyes widened, my ears perked up, I don't know if it was quite goosebumps, but because you brought up a topic that has been something that I've been dealing with, and I'm sure a lot of other people have been dealing with over the last really couple of months, but I never really thought to ask about it. And then you raised it in your potential topic for this month, and my immediate response was yes, absolutely yes. Many people get I think everyone listening is probably familiar with calls that they get about people wanting to buy their home or that their car warranty is expired, yes. Right? But there's another big phone scam or phone messaging scam that is occurring right now. And I've been getting incessant calls about it that have gone unanswered. And so tell us about this latest scam that is happening that people might be getting phone calls or text messages about or emails about that we wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, tax season is beyond us, right? For the most part, we're past the tax deadline, but the IRS scammers, they go on all year, right? So there's no season for that. It's an all year thing. And it sounds like you've been victim is the wrong word, but you've been targeted.
Yes.
From what I hear. I did not know that. And suggesting this, I think most of us have gotten some kind of robo or scam call, and I bet a lot of them are IRS related.
I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say I've been getting at least 3 calls a day from the same phone number that is not a number that I recognize. I don't answer it.
Right.
But it keeps calling and calling and calling. And every once in a while, there'll be a voicemail left. And if you listen to the voicemail, it has something to do with filing for you owe back taxes and you can get relief from back taxes that you owe. And, or you're something to do with your filing or collections is in jeopardy. It's all the different things that you hear from other stuff about your car warranty and stuff and things like that. And you need to take action on something. I mean, it's been crazy. I get so annoyed every time I see this same area code pop up on my phone. And I guess what you're saying and wanting to bring this up is I'm not the only one that this is happening to.
Yeah. No, it's been an ongoing thing, I think, and I'm curious too. We won't talk about it a lot here because I think it's so new, but I'm afraid AI may make that worse, right? I think it's just becoming easier to impersonate people and conduct scams, but I think the IRS or tax-related scams, those definitely have been going on, for years, but I think it's getting worse, whether it be the advent of technology or something else. But I guess what makes it attractive to the scammers is, most people have to file taxes or know that they have in the past or will in the future. And they, whenever you get a call or something from the IRS, that's going to get your attention, right? You might not have a car warranty, so that's pretty easy to ignore. But if you get a message, and it could be an email. I think there's also phishing schemes a lot that go out that try to get you to click on things, get your information, get you to, in some cases, make a payment. But it's a hot item, and I think especially if you just filed your taxes or just got a refund, you could be vulnerable. Also, I think, the folks listening to this, if you're not a victim or you haven't been targeted, keep in mind, a lot of times, unfortunately, these fraudsters target the elderly. So, it may be a family member or neighbor or someone else that, keep your ears to the ground. If you hear something, we'll give you a few things maybe to watch out for, some ways to protect yourself, and then what to do if you have been a victim too, because there are some resources out there. It's not a new thing. So the IRS has some opportunities for you to report things like this.
So what is typically happening in these scams? If people are these, if people, they're listening and they're thinking, I have been getting a lot of calls from a certain number, and I'm wondering if I need to answer these or if I need to take action on something, like what's real, what's not real. What's typically happening with these fraudulent types of communications?
Yeah, I think I would put it in three major categories, or at least these are the three that I've had, some experience with. And the first one is what we've already been talking about, where, you've got a scammer that'll try to impersonate the IRS. They might do something with the caller ID to make it look like they're calling from an IRS office. They might give you a fake, badge number or some kind of information if you do get them on the phone or if they leave a message. But they're really often very aggressive. They're going to call, they're going to email or text you telling you that you owe money, basically, right? And taxes are, something complicated and hard for people to understand. So a lot of times people are easily threatened by that, even if they feel like they've tried and done what they were supposed to do. I think it's definitely something where people could be like, oh my gosh, I guess I messed up my taxes. I guess I owe money, because that's in general, I think most of those are trying to get you to make a payment, right? They're going to try to convince you you're in trouble. You need to make a payment urgently, or they'll threaten arrest. Sometimes they'll threaten to seize your property. And I think one of the most important things to know is that the IRS will not operate that way. They're not going to text you. They're probably not going to email you. They've said repeatedly they don't call, that they communicate via letter. So I think the first thing to know is, like, that's that big category. That's probably what's going on. If you're getting a bunch of calls, it's probably a scam. If you're getting an email, it's probably a phishing scheme that's trying to get you to click on that and give them your social security number or some other information.
Yeah, they're gonna bang on your door. They're gonna show up at your door one day if they really need to get your money.
That's right. Yeah, generally that's how. Right, you may get a nasty letter, and I would also be diligent about any mailings you get.
Yeah.
They can also make those look official. I think if you get those, we'll talk about that maybe more later, but you want to try to verify any communication and know the ways the IRS communicates with you. And especially if, it's generally, you're not going to get an IRS agent in the first communication with you,
right,
demanding an urgent payment. That's just not how they tend to operate. So that's the one category. And that, I would guess, is the most common. I think that's probably one of the most frequent ones. I think all of us have gotten calls like that. I used to know an insurance agent here in town. I won't name his name, but we were good friends. He used to call me, and you'd answer the phone, and he would announce that the IRS was calling, just as a joke, when he would call into the office. And of course, we would laugh about it, but then later we realized that's a common scheme apparently now.
Yeah, can't use that anymore.
Yeah, I know. Just scare us all or get hung up on. But there's another one too that I've had experience with clients and other folks too that I think I used to think was less common, but I think it's happening more where somebody files a return under your social security number. Have you heard of this
I
before?
haven't. No. Mm-mm.
It can happen. I had it happen years ago. A lot of times people don't know it. They're going to beat you to the punch. I don't know if they just get a list of social security numbers somehow and just file returns. Obviously, they're going to file a return that with data that gets them a refund, right? So their goal with that is to collect a refund. In the cases that I've experienced with it before, these folks were working clients, working with a CPA even, or a tax preparer of some sort. They get them their information. They go to e-file, which is the most common way now, and they realize there's already a tax return out there under one or both their social security numbers. And so that they had to help them, basically paper file and go through the process of notifying the IRS that was a fraudulent return. But that's another thing you need to be aware of. The other circumstance, and I think this is where it's maybe growing more common, is a lot of senior citizens. Maybe they're not working, they don't have the W-2 income, they have Social Security income. If you don't have a lot of other income that's taxable anyway, you may not be required to file a return, right? And so a lot of times with those older individuals, there's not a return filed. But if you've got a fraudster that can easily get that Social Security number, file a return, collect a refund, and then you start getting notifications from the IRS later. So that's something to be aware of. Those notices will often demand that refund back.
Mm-hmm.
So if again, our population listening to this may not be the victim of that, but if you've got family members, elderly neighbors, or anyone like that, and that mailing is going to be official, right? I mean, that's going to be an actual mailing from the IRS. And so it's not that you're getting a fraudulent mailing. So it can look very legitimate. Definitely have them be careful of that. Like don't automatically pay it. In that circumstance, make sure you go through a process there to notify the IRS. But that's, I think, truly sad, because I think it tends to be the older individual, maybe that's targeted.
Yeah, the most vulnerable.
Who's ready for movie night? Our friends at the Ginther Group Real Estate are proud to sponsor another season of innovation and cinema at Bailey Park in downtown Winston-Salem's Innovation Quarter. The next film is Everything Everywhere All at Once and will be shown on Friday, May 17th. Bring your chair or blanket to Bailey Park for a great night of cinema from Aperture and food from a variety of local vendors. Pre-film fun begins at 7 p.m. and the movie starts at dark. These magical movie nights are made possible by the Ginther Group, the real estate experts we trust and showcase here on the Triad Podcast Network. Check their social media for info on each upcoming movie night. And for your real estate needs, call 336-283-8689 or visit theginthergroup.com. Buying, selling, investing, or just learning. Whatever you need, start now. And like me, you can become a Ginther Group client for life.
So I found one of the voicemails that was left, and if could, I'm gonna read this to you.
Okay. Yeah.
So it says, such and such here with tax 133. When you get this message, please call me back. This call was to let you know that all past due tax debt has been placed in a non-collectible status, meaning you will not have to pay back your past due taxes. This is part of that new federal economic recovery program you've probably heard about on the news. So before you file or start making arrangements to pay your tax debt, give us a call.
Okay, I think that's the third category, actually. The way that you read that, I think that's really interesting, because I think, there's definitely a group trying to get you to pay taxes that are not due, and then will not ultimately go to the IRS. They'll go, I'm sure, to whatever account they have you set up for. Those trying to collect under your social, and then those trying to quote help you like settle a tax debt, right? And I think there's a couple things there. One, that they're certainly not, you don't have a tax debt there you need to settle, but you do have people that have past due taxes with the IRS.
Mhm.
And so they can also sometimes be vulnerable to groups that offer to help them resolve that issue for little or no payments to the IRS. A lot of times that too is fraudulent, or they'll try to get you to send them the payment to resolve this, these past due claims or due taxes. And that also can be a scam. I think another common one too is that you have maybe an unclaimed refund, right? As if the IRS is going to call you to say, "Hey, Adam, good news. You've got a refund out there. You just need to claim that prize."
Yeah. Yeah. And in other news, a Serbian prince has also left you their
Right.
their riches in that you can claim.
That's right.
Um,
That's
okay.
right. You just need to send them $1,000 and then
Right.
for whatever customs fee or whatever it takes to get that.
Exactly. So I mean, I don't think anybody is going to be immune from being targeted by these. So like you're going to get phone calls, you're going to get messages about this. If that's the case, though, what are the things that people need to do to make sure that they don't fall victim to this?
Yeah, because they can be tricky, right? I mean, the Prince example, like I think those are easy ones, to say like, okay, I know that's a scam. I think if the IRS pops up, then a lot of times, that catches your attention. You immediately want to respond or figure it out. It just raises our blood pressure. So you want to just be careful before you respond. So I think a few things people want to be aware of, some of which we've already mentioned, but know how the IRS is going to contact you. They're not going to send you a Facebook message. Okay. So if you get a social media message, that should be a red flag, even if it looks legit, if it looks like a legitimate account. They're not going to text you. They've said a lot of times repeatedly that they're not going to call you. It's most likely going to be mail, but I think even there again, you need to be careful. If the letter asks you to contact them in some way, I would go to an IRS website, a verified government website, and look at find a phone number there and call and see if this notice you've received, is legitimate. So know how they're going to contact you.
Yeah, that sounds so similar to the advice with phishing schemes in emails, where it says if
Yeah,
somebody's telling you that your account has been deactivated or there's something that you need to change in your account, you need to click this to log in. Well, don't click the link. If it's a service where you have an account, go to that service's actual website and log in, and
I
then
know.
see if it's
Yeah.
actually real.
Same thing. And I think the phishing, the emails, those are just getting better all the time, right? It can look very legit. Before you know it, you've clicked on something, put in your social security number or some other sensitive information. So just be really aware of emails, certainly anything that would come over the internet, even phone calls. I would be cautious even of mailing that you might receive. Find some way to verify that, before you send any payment, before you give out any personal information. I would do that.
What if somehow, I don't know how somebody would do this, but what if somehow the call came in and it said IRS on the caller ID? Is that legitimate?
I still don't. I mean, I would still recommend not answering that. If anything, if it's legit, they're probably going to leave you a message. I think there again, you go to the IRS website, you get a phone number, you call that number, not even the number, maybe that if there is one left on the voicemail. I think most likely calls are not legit. I think they're going to communicate most likely via mail. If you did get a phone call, I would check that phone number out online before calling it back. And I think too, they can be very aggressive. So people need to be prepared for that. If you happen to answer it, you've had a weak moment. It said IRS. You took the call. Be prepared for them to be threatening. They may threaten to call the sheriff, quote unquote, to seize your property and once they're going to be very aggressive and try to get payment out of you right then. So be prepared. If you got caught up in that, I think it'd be certainly fine in that phone call. And again, try to find a legitimate IRS office phone number to call and see if there is something going on.
Yeah. Is that the best way to verify? I mean, what other ways can people verify before they take some sort of action or make some sort of payment?
Yeah, I think so. I think you want to go. It's not great. It's not easy to get through via phone to the IRS. You need to be prepared. You may have to call. There is an IRS customer service number, and we'll try to maybe provide some links to that in the show notes too, so people can know how to look it up. So I think that's probably going to be the best way for folks to figure that out. Because certainly anything you might get, I mean, I think the emails, especially, they can be very tricky. Phone calls even could sound legitimate. They might even give you a badge number. They might sound professional, but don't accept that at face value.
Yeah, and the foreign prince example is very obvious, is a very obvious example of this. But
Right.
if we're talking about something like this, the thing that those calls teach you, if you're being left, a king's ransom of gold in your that you need to claim, like this is too good to be true.
Yeah.
But that's always a good rule of thumb to use, whether it's that or whether it's what we're talking about here, right?
I think so. Yeah. If it sounds too good, meaning you're getting a call. I mean, the IRS is understaffed, right? They've made that public. They want to hire more people. They're not hiring people to call you to say we have money for you, right? So they're not going to call you to say, "Hey, Jennifer, good news, you got a refund. I just need your social security number and your bank information, so we can put that in there." Like that should be a red flag number one. Also, if you owe back taxes, which a lot of, there's a surprisingly amount of people that owe back taxes, things could have happened in their life, a bad divorce, a business that went south on them, and they owe a lot of money to the IRS. If somebody calls you or you get an email and you respond to that about trying to help you resolve that debt, I would be really wary of that. There certainly are legitimate companies that help you, but if, again, to your point, Adam, if it sounds too good to be true, if you owe $10,000 and they're telling you if you give them 1,000, they're going to make this go away. You really need to perk your ears up and just be sure, check this company out, Better Business Bureau, maybe check with the IRS directly. Just be cautious with those kind of things.
Yeah. Okay. Good advice. Well, a lot of things that people can do to avoid being a victim, but in the event that somebody slips up and does something they're not supposed to, gives out information they're not supposed to, clicks on a link they're not supposed to, sometimes these things are really hard to avoid, right? So
They are.
how what's the action to take? What do I do if I've fallen victim to something like this?
Yeah, I mean, this happens so much. There are parts of the IRS website dedicated to these issues, and we can certainly share those with folks. There's also a phone number too. People can call and report it. Certainly, if you've been the victim of an identity theft, like I mentioned, where somebody files a return under your tax ID number or your social, you can file a form for that, and that's actually online as well. So there are a lot of resources there. I would go so far to say, even if you haven't been victimized by it, you can also report these scams. There are so many. Like, I mean, I like you, I just usually ignore them. I mean, it's just to have the time to like report them all. But if folks want to actually report an attempt, even if they're not a victim of it, you can do that, and we can include that too. So I think I would encourage people to use those resources. Certainly, if you've been a victim, it's also a way you can look on the website too for common schemes, and check those out and see if that's something that's been reported to be an ongoing issue. And then lastly, I think if you've, for example, if somebody has filed under your tax return, your tax ID, and you need to file taxes, but you can't, that's something you might need. You might need a tax professional to help you resolve that. That certainly was the case. I was thinking of that. And that's been a number of years that happened. So these things have been going on for a long time.
Yeah. Well, the voicemail that I read the transcription of earlier, I'm going to go and report that phone number on.
Good for you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't just ignore it. Be part of the solution. Be part of the solution. Yeah. We will post these links. These are verified links.
Right.
So if you want to look at the, I know, right? I feel like we should say that before we ask people to click on these if they need these resources. So, speaking of resources, Jennifer, this is great information. If they want to talk to you about, again, we always make sure that when it comes to taxes, talk to a tax professional.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe you have someone in your life that you can talk to about these things. But we're here to just provide guidance and advice and certain things that point you in the right direction, hopefully, on some of these things. So, but if Jennifer, they want to talk to you about this or other financial things that they have questions about, how can they get a hold of you and your team?
Yeah, we're local here. They're welcome to give me a call directly. I'm at 336-701-1600. Hopefully, if you're going through something like this, I hope you're not, but if you are, and you want to share with me what you've got going on, it may not be something that I can help you with, but maybe I can direct you to somebody who can. If you want to learn more about what we do, which is certainly not IRS scams, thank God. It's more around planning for fun things, things like retirement and college planning and things like that. Hopefully plan for the fun things you want to do in your life. You can learn more about us at 3magnoliasfinancialadvisors.com. That's all spelled out. 3magnoliasfinancialadvisors.com. So we'd love to hear from folks.
Yeah. And this information a lot of the things we talk about are ways to help people either save money or not spend money that they don't need to be spending. And this is something where, look, these scams are designed to take your money. And what Jennifer is trying to do here is trying to help people avoid these situations so that they can plan for taking a good summer vacation or things like that, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's exactly right. So hopefully this has helped some folks and helped a loved one or something prevent.
Well, thank you for helping me understand why I'm getting so many of these calls. So, and now I know what to do when I get them. So
absolutely. Well,
thanks, Jennifer.
Take care.
Securities offered through Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC. Member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through 3 Magnolias Financial Advisors. Located at 110 Oakwood Drive, Suite 480, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, 27103. 3 Magnolias Financial Advisors and Cetera Advisor Networks are not affiliated. Cetera is under separate ownership from any other named entity. All information is believed to be from reliable sources. However, we make no representation as to its completeness or accuracy. All economic and performance information is historical and not indicative of future results. The market indices discussed are unmanaged. Additional risks are associated with international investing, such as currency fluctuations, political and economic stability, and differences in accounting standards. The views depicted in this material are for information purposes only and not necessarily those of Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC. They should not be considered specific advice or recommendations for any individual. Neither Cetera Advisor Networks, LLC, nor any of its representatives may give legal or tax advice.
This is the Triad Podcast Network.